I have 7:30. I will call the meeting to order via Zoom. We are all participating remotely because of the COVID pandemic and current orders within the state. So at this point, I will share a flag and ask everyone to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Stop sharing, go back, and then turn it over to Bob for roll call.
Certainly. Trustee Reedy.
He said he would probably be unable to attend tonight. He let us know this earlier.
Okay, very good. So he's absent. Trustee Chapman.
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Allen.
Here.
Trustee Signorella.
Here.
Supervisor Mullen.
Here.
Assessor Trowbridge.
Here.
And Highway Commissioner Young.
Here.
And Clerk Claren is also present.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mary Jo,
Mm-hmm.
if I could ask, we normally have a sign-in sheet at meetings,
Yes.
and not all names are on or they're a last name. So I can see Kim White is on.
Mm-hmm.
I can see Bill Green. And I can see, so I'm going to go to the next aisle. I can only see so many at a time. Jim Bondurant. Jean Page. Lisa Rose. And Scott Silver. I see Christy McGovern. I see Debbie Polowitz.
That's everyone I have on my screen.
Okay, because I've got you. I don't have the, oh, I should have switched to the gallery view. I was scrolling through. My apologies. I have it on speaker view right now. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate that.
Great. Next up is public comments. I will first ask if there is any public comment from anyone who's attending via Zoom that they'd like to make. Okay, hearing none. There was one public comment provided via the form. I'll share that and read it. It is offered by Claire Goldenberg from Lisle. Her comment is that regarding the CARES Act funds available from the county, I learned today that the township was allocated $225,000, but only requested about $169,000. I just want to go on record that if our trustees were truly vested in the health of our community, then they should have been able to come up with more programs to utilize all the funds available to us, as the needs in our community are great. That's the one public comment that we received by the form. We'll move on to approval of the November 10th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tony. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, so I will ask Bob to take a roll call vote, please.
Hi, Trustee Chapman. Trustee Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Signorella.
Yes.
And Supervisor Mullen.
Yes. Minutes are approved for November 10th, 2020 regular meeting. That brings us to discussion of and potential action on the estimated tax levy ordinance for the town fund and general assistance. So in your package, you received the ordinance for the town fund levy. It is the same as what was proposed 2 months ago and approved by resolution in October. It does represent, and if I go back to our October packets, just for reference, sorry for all the screen sharing. For reference, it does reflect a small decrease from last year, which is on trend to be lower than the last few years. Also, now that we've gotten past the capital improvement and concerns around the assessor's office, and we have a final solution for that, we're able to adjust down our levy to start to take down our some of the accumulation we had for the capital improvement line item, and still potentially look at an abatement that we should discuss in a future meeting. So that is total levy will be for $2.1 million and $100. So I will ask with that if there's a motion to approve the Township and General Assistance Fund levy.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
I'll defer
discussion?
to Sean. It's fine.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will turn it back to Bob for roll call vote.
Trustee Chapman,
Aye.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Signorella,
Yes.
and supervisor Mullen.
Yes.
Okay.
So estimated tax levy ordinance for town fund and general assistance is approved. That brings us to the next item, which is discussion of and potential action on the estimated tax levy ordinance for the road district. Ed, do you want to introduce this at all?
Sure. It's different from the one I submitted last month. It's about on par with what we had last year. What I did is I went through and reviewed the amount of roads that we'll have to pave next year. Since we had a big paving program this year using the MFT money, I was able to scale that back. I was also able to scale back the sidewalk program, as we've had this sidewalk program now for 2 years straight. And I expect that the sidewalk has run its course. So I was able to take some of that back. I think we'll be at a much more normal level of sidewalk replacement within the township than the fire sales we've had for the last 2 years. With that, I was able to bring it down to about where we were. It's a little less than $6,000 less than what we levied last year.
So you reduced the levy?
I did. It's less than last year's, $6,000. So I would request your approval of the levy as presented.
Is there a motion to approve the levy for the road district?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And that was Sean, correct?
Oh, Sean.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sorry, Bob.
I'll second.
Thanks, Rich.
And second by Tony. Any discussion on Ed's levy? Okay, again, hearing none, I will ask Bob for roll call vote.
Certainly. I will start with trustee Chapman,
We didn't hear you, Kathy.
Muted.
Yeah, I know it.
There you go.
yes?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Signorella,
Yes.
supervisor Mullen.
Yes.
Good.
All right, the tax levy ordinance for the road district is approved. Moving on to discussion of the FY22 budget process and workshop. I'll share again because why not? We need our budget in place for the beginning of the fiscal year. We technically have past the beginning of the fiscal year to approve it, but we always try to have it in place by the beginning of the fiscal year. What we typically do is a budget workshop in advance of our January board meeting, then discuss and approve the tentative budgets for posting in January's board meeting. And following that, it gets posted for review, and we schedule budget hearings that are scheduled just before like the day of, but about half an hour before the regular board meeting in March. And then in the board meeting, we'll take action upon those to approve them, hopefully, and adopt the budget and appropriation ordinance. So that would put us at a schedule at January 13th board meeting would be our discussion and approval of the tentative budgets. By February 8th, in order to have the 30-day public inspection period, we need to have those budgets posted. But we will post them right after the meeting and post a notification for the budget hearings by then as well, which puts us at March 10th. Probably, we typically would say 7 o'clock and 7:15 for the 2 budget hearings, one for the town and general assistance fund and one for the road district, and then move into 7:30, our regular meeting. Just wanted to overview that. I know this is Tony's first time through the process. Yay, exciting stuff, Tony. But so that's generally how our process has worked. What that would mean is we need to look at our calendars and try and identify when we want to conduct the budget workshop prior to January 13th. So if we wanted, I think last year we did it just the Tuesday right before, and in previous years where we have, I think because we had a really early second Wednesday. In other years, we have done it like a little bit earlier the week before. Does anyone have any preferences or any constraints that first week and a half of January that we need to look at?
I might be gone the first week of January, but I could have somebody in my stead present the budget.
Okay.
And
Ed, we may be in this format anyway, still in January.
Oh, okay.
I would count on that. Yeah.
Then I'll be glad to present it.
And I do believe, Mary Jo, we talked about even after, while clearly things will still be challenging, there's actually provisions, Ed, for you to participate electronically. We may need to update them to include Zoom and as well. I'm not sure. Obviously, we don't need to during the current crisis.
Right.
But we should
when we go back, we can.
them.
We'll have to see if they change, because I think right now you aren't. I don't know how Zoom plays into the current OMA requirements in the electronic participation. So I would really hope that they would see that that's a better way of participating in situations like this. But, but agreed. Yes, we'll have to look at that.
I'm also going to be gone the first week of January, but I'll be able to participate virtually.
Okay. Because we can absolutely look at the 11th or the 12th, just to make it easier. So you're not, traveling and
I will be back by then, so I'm good with it.
Okay. Did everyone feel comfortable doing it on the Tuesday, the day before the meeting last year? Was that enough time? Did everyone feel okay with that? We could do it then, shoot for the same.
That works.
Kathy, what do you think? That's okay? Yeah, yeah, you weren't muted before, but it's just not picking you up. And Tony, you were cool?
I'm good with the 11th, the 12th. Yes.
Okay.
And virtually the week before.
Okay. We'll probably end up doing this virtually. Still, I'm assuming things aren't going to suddenly get better. But if we could shoot for the 12th, purely selfishly because the 11th is my birthday, then I think that would be great. And would you guys, the other thing we've also done in the past is done it a little earlier. Would you want to do it more like 6:30 or 7, so it's out of the way earlier in the evening?
I like that 6:30 time. Does that work for everybody?
It works for me.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. Then I will plan on, I will send out notices for our budget workshop to be January 12th at 6:30. And, but otherwise, everyone's good with the schedule and how we proceed? No questions or concerns? All right, excellent. Thank you, guys. All righty. That brings us to, next up, discussion of a potential action on the 2020 board meeting schedule and holiday schedules for supervisors, assessors, and highway department offices. So for this, while we, as a board, approve the schedules for supervisor and assessor's office, Ed has purview of his own schedule for holidays, but typically also tells us what he plans on doing just for fun. And then holidays. So I did send out a proposed schedule. And it's all the same typical holidays. There's a little bit, come on here. There's a little bit that is just moved around because there's a lot of holidays that fall on weekends next year. As for the board meeting schedule, Bill pointed out to me today that out of habit, I just went with every Wednesday. And typically we would move the regular meeting to coincide with the annual meeting in April, and just do it immediately after the annual meeting. Bring this up because we could either amend this to do it on the 13th, immediately following the annual meeting, or keep it as is and have two separate meetings, knowing that April, I don't know where we're going to stand in terms of protocols and gatherings, if we'll be under the same orders and we'll still be postponing the annual meeting yet again. I just wanted to throw that out for discussion.
Maybe Mary Jo,
Mhm.
my thought is, should we just plan on trying to have it when we would, after the meeting, like we might normally have, and maybe all we have then is the board meeting and maybe a description, while not a full public one, you know, the full publicly blown town meeting, but we present those financials. I think we should,
Yeah.
you know, as we
Just
talked
count
about,
on
I
making
mean,
sure
they're current-
everything's discussed there. Mhm.
and we currently put all that stuff on our website, even though we didn't have a town meeting, so all the numbers are
Right.
there for everyone to have. But we plan on talking about that at that meeting, whether it's a full blown, you know, what we would expect, or a just a meeting and maybe an information session. And maybe this way we'll have more than a week or two to figure out that we have people discussing, you know, we have people presenting at that time frame, you know, as well.
Right.
So it's a thought I had.
Okay. Kathy, I saw you took yourself off mute. Did you want to comment?
I was just gonna ask what the impact of the election was on the timeline of that for seating potential new board members, especially since there's a couple of us who are not running for election. Do we need to have a separate meeting for the potential new board members prior to the town meeting?
So there's a big gap in election and swearing in. As I recall, Bob probably knows the dates better, but I recall going to the annual meeting, the regular meeting, and the May regular meeting before being sworn in. I was still sitting in as a member of the
I
public.
believe it's about the 15th. Again, I may be off by a day,
Mid-May.
because of the days of the week. It's mid-May.
Yeah.
It's
15th to 20th.
It's not immediately after the election. So.
Which is awkward.
Well, this time it's not, again, Mary Jo, you know, no matter the results, you as the outgoing supervisor will not have been defeated. So it'll be considerably less.
It will be different.
Right, exactly, awkward. So, you know, regardless of anything.
I know, but it's still weird to be elected and sitting in the audience, be like, do, 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 do. That part's a little different.
That's different about that meeting anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay, so then does everyone cool with the idea? Then we make it scheduled for the Tuesday to align with the annual meeting, or upon conclusion of the annual town meeting. Isn't it fun to watch me type? Is that reasonable for everybody then? Gonna put a note.
That works.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. That's good.
Okay. So then I will ask if there is a motion to approve the Well, first, Ed, is there anything you want to talk about with yours before we move into action on ours?
No,
Okay.
it's just standard.
Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to approve the 2020 board meeting schedule and holiday schedules as just amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on the board meeting schedule or holiday schedule for the supervisor and assessor's office? Hearing none, then I will ask Bob for roll call vote, please.
This is, sorry, I'm keeping track of a few things here. So Trustee Chapman.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Yep.
Trustee Signorella
Yes.
and Supervisor Mullen.
Yes. All righty. So this moves us, well, sorry, the 2020 board meeting schedule and holiday schedules are approved, and which moves us into discussion of COVID-19 impacts and the CARES Act funding. So I sent you all the spreadsheet for planning purposes that was submitted to the county for CARES Act reimbursement on November 30th. It outlines our whole plan, and it has been under discussion within the county. I know they talked about it in their finance committee. And it includes everything from some of the partnerships and agreements we are discussing tonight with some of our nonprofit partners. All of the expenditures we have made that are directly reimbursable because of COVID-19 and the impacts to our offices. So anything related to PPE, ways we changed our operations, delivery of our food pantry services requires some new equipment and materials. We bag up all of our food for our clients and deliver it into their car. So buying those bags and everything that goes into that is a change in our operations that's reimbursable. I purchased the owl for our meeting room that will allow us to do these hybrid meetings that we have been doing the last few months more easily and continue that into the future, knowing that we may still have people until everyone is vaccinated that continue to participate remotely. Ed had already bought a air purifier scrubber for the highway, and we're having an air scrubber installed in the township to minimize the risk of exposure. If there is somebody who has COVID, that our air is cleaned of contaminants. It's an ion plasma system that should be able to kill COVID as well. And then all of our emergency assistance that's been distributed based upon COVID specific loss of job or loss of income. And purely through October, the amount of assistance that is tied directly to COVID-19 because someone lost their position or if their hours were cut or for some reason now fell into the minimum income limits is about $16,000 that we've provided to people under financial assistance. So I'd say about half of the individuals who come in with who've received that assistance come in for like really the basics for food, sundries, and things like that. And the other half has been a lot of people coming in for rent or utilities. And usually when they come in for one of those, they only are getting rent or utilities because their bills and their reimbursement request is so high. So it will help a lot to have this reimbursement. We currently are spending above where we would normally spend on assistance in the utilities line item. We have a lot of people who have applied in the last month for LIHEAP, the Low Income Heating and Energy Assistance Program. Laura has seen a lot more applications for that program, and they started it much earlier. And she told me on Monday that the county has been working 7 days a week just on LIHEAP because they've had such a large amount of applications for it. So there were moratoriums for eviction for a long time related to COVID, as well as all of the utilities were not shutting people off. A lot of those programs are slowing or ending. And she said she already has several appointments, 3 appointments just for utilities in the coming week. So we are starting to hit that point that we were predicting for assistance where Nobody was getting shut off, but their bills were continuing to pile up. Nobody was getting evicted because of the moratorium, but their rent was continuing to pile up. And now we're hitting that point where some of that supportive effort is being shut off, and people owe a lot of money. So I think we're at that turning point where we're going to start seeing more people come in for assistance, particularly for utilities and rent. So January will be probably a turning point for us to see how much we spend this month and what our spend is in the beginning of January, to see really what that impact is for our clients in need who come to us for financial assistance, and how much of that is evolving because of COVID. I was really surprised when I looked back at the numbers and pulled all the case files, just making sure we caught everyone who had told Laura that they had lost their income because of COVID, of how many in a month were COVID related. You know, it's not like 2 or 3 out of the 10 were COVID. It was like 8 or 9 out of 15 were COVID related. So clearly there's a need, clearly there is a lot going on, but that's kind of where we stand from an assistance standpoint. I haven't seen the numbers grow much for the food pantry since the initial spike, where we kind of doubled the amount of clients we were serving. We've continued that doubling in our pantry, but it hasn't really risen dramatically since then. So that's been pretty much a continuous increase within the pantry. We'll talk in the next 3 items about our nonprofit partnerships, but I have gotten calls, and there was the public comment around there's still money out there. There's still money on the table. And I've had a lot of people from the county call me and ask about that. Because of the way we spend money in the township, we are not allowed to purely donate money. If we're working with a nonprofit, it has to be agreement for services, and we have to be able to show the benefit we're providing to our residents. So we've done that over the last month when we got clarification from the county on the requirements for working with nonprofits under CARES Act funding, and what's reimbursable and what's not. We had more flexibility than they had thought in the beginning of the CARES Act program. So that was really good news for us, which allowed us to work more with Kim and work with West Suburban Community Pantry and Youth Outlook. And there's a couple of things out there still that may happen. One county board member was trying to bring together the townships that still had money and see if we could do a large purchase of diapers together. That would, if we pooled all of our money and bought in an enormous bulk, we could get them a lot cheaper, and then all of our pantries would be stocked with those diapers, because that's one of the items that we never have enough of, and it's really hard to come by, and they're expensive. So they're not as frequently donated unless somebody does a specific diaper drive. So we were looking at just doing an enormous purchase of diapers and putting $5,000 each or $10,000 towards that. If that does move forward, I would likely use GA money, because it'll go into the food pantry to make that purchase and have it dated within December, take care of that, and it'll be audited next month. But we're waiting to see if that plays out. If it doesn't, my plan is to purchase personal supplies and some diapers in the food pantry line item and ask for reimbursement of that. It's not going to be $50,000 worth. That's a lot of shampoo, but going to try and put forth as much as we can that makes sense, that helps our residents and meets the commitments of the township. I am not interested in spending money just to spend money. I think that regardless of its taxpayer money from property taxes directly to the township, or it's federal funds that are taxpayer based, we still have to spend wisely. We still have to spend in a responsible manner. And I'm not going to push it all the way up to limit just to do that. I worked in a federal program for 10 years that did grants, that did cooperative agreements, and I respect the rules of the CARES Act funding and our commitments and what we need to do. So I'm going to leverage those to the maximum extent possible. If y'all have suggestions, I'd love to hear them. But really trying to work within the CARES Act frame, our frame, and being really responsible with how we spend the money. So that was me talking a lot. one of the, see if anybody has any questions or thoughts around that.
So Mary Jo, I'd like to thank you for your leadership on this one. You know, I know that I've had some conversations with some folks at the county level as well. I do like the fact that we are, and this is our job, is to help the people that need help and do it the right way. And by doing it the right way in this case is making sure that the dollars are reimbursable, that we're not just donating to donate and then, you know, trying to figure it out on the back end. We're doing it the right way. Everything is on the up and up. The nonprofits that we do have that we're going to be supporting are great organizations, and it's very empowering to know that we're going to be supporting them. Kim is here as well. I'm very happy that she is. So I think we're doing the right thing here. And regardless of what the public comment was, it's difficult to, you know, try and make sure that that we are doing the right thing the right way, making sure that we're supporting the nonprofits, as you eloquently said, in the right frame in the township, and with regard to the federal dollars, how they're going to be reimbursed. It's not just easy. I mean, it needs to be done the right way, and I think we're doing it the right way. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I second that. I appreciate your work on this, Mary Jo.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, and I, you know, third to the party on this one with that. I agree. I feel that supporting other organizations who already have a structure in place to provide different types of support than we're providing through our food pantry, well, obviously suburban food pantry as well, but especially with Kim's organization and youth outreach, I feel that it's a very wise way for us to use money to spread and infiltrate other ways to support people in our community aside from what we're doing. I would definitely endorse you finding ways to shore up our own shelves in our food pantry. So I'll leave that to you and your staff to determine, you know, what items exactly you need, but definitely utilizing the opportunity to stock up. I think we are going to see even more of an impact after the holidays and into the winter. So thank you again for finding, you know, outlining these partnerships and setting this up.
Thank you, guys. It's nice that we're on the same page. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any questions about the planning worksheet and what we're working through right now, or any other impact that we're feeling? Okay. Then I will move us into item number 11, discussion of and potential action to approve an agreement with the Career and Networking Center related to COVID-19 impacts. And as you all saw, Kim White is with us, Executive Director for CNC. This is partially in response to Kathy wanted to learn a little bit more last month about kind of how CNC has had to pivot a little bit and what they envision happening in the future and how they're going to be changing things. So to kind of kick us off and introduce the topic, I will turn it over to Kim.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Supervisor Mullen and trustees. Thank you for having me today. As Mary Jo mentioned, my name is Kim White. I'm the Executive Director of the Career Networking Center. And like so many organizations, on March 13th, we had to pivot and change up what we were doing. You know, when I left the office that day, I remember saying to my team, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. This is only going to take a couple of weeks. We'll all be back in place. And we all know that did not happen. That night, Friday evening, I was listening to the news and I just recall hearing them talk a lot about things shutting down and what was that going to possibly mean to to employers and employees, and what was going to happen in that regard. And so I knew then that we needed to start taking some action that weekend. So that weekend, I called my team Saturday morning and I said, you know, I hate to call you on a Saturday, but I think we need to really get prepared for transitioning our services into a virtual offering. Luckily for us, we had taken some steps early on to, you started using a new scheduling software. So we had taken some steps, not really knowing this was going to happen, but just to kind of bring us up to, 2020. And so it was pretty easy for us, if you will, to make that transition. Granted, I don't think any of us slept over the course of that weekend, but we were able to transition and work all weekend Monday morning, we got our volunteers on a call, talked to them and shared with them how we were going to start using Zoom and start making sure that we were available for people who were potentially going to be losing their jobs. On Tuesday morning, we opened up with all of our virtual one-on-one appointments, workshops, networking, all of that. We had all of that set and ready to go for our clients. So as you all know, we do work with and partner with the Lisle Township Job Club. And as Sarah could attest and others, that we have continued to move forward with that program every single Wednesday, helping folks who are in job search. In terms of how we see ourselves moving forward, I think the pandemic brings opportunities for people to really look at how their business is going and how we are functioning as an organization. One of the things we do know moving forward is we will continue in a hybrid space. And that means that we will continue to offer our services virtually because we do see the value in that and the clients that we're able to see. But we also know the importance, especially in the work that we do, of meeting in person. And so we will, as soon as it's safe to do so, and our task force, our board members who make up our task force, we will be moving into a new space where we will be able to provide, our networking groups and our workshops and any of the other things that we want to put forward. We're able to do that in person because it is truly important to do that for folks who are in a job search. With that, I don't know if I answered all questions or any concerns that you all have, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
You mind if I add something, Mary Jo?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So as many members of the board know, I lost my job this summer as a result of COVID. I used both Sarah's job club I attended, and I began using the center as well, funded not by our donations, but by my former employer in an outplacement sort of methodology. And again, these things are instrumental to people. And as Kim said, immediately having someone to talk to and to know that there's a first step is huge in a lot of what we do through the job club, or through what Sarah does through the job club. Again, having been in some of those meetings and those people throw ideas out, and Sarah's certainly done a great job of bringing that forward from when Joy started it decades ago and first got us involved with the community. At the time, Community Career Center.
Community Career Center.
And,
24 years ago, I think. 24 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. So I think this does a lot for our residents. I know that it's done a lot for me. And I know whenever I talk to somebody who's out, and I know a few other members of the board have as well, they make sure to talk to people about the job club and the community, the Career and Networking Center. About what it does. And there's a lot of people like me. I was with my employer for 18 years. I mean, I had a few things on a resume or a piece of paper, it's what people are looking for is completely different. And that's part of what we discussed in those job club moments. We talked about LinkedIn presence and how to do things virtually. And I think that's important. And when she can get back to live meetings, both Sarah and Kim and their staff are excellent in supporting people, not just to find a job, but to helping them deal with it's really a trauma particularly for some people when they lose the job. And even if you're able to find something fairly quickly, Bill used them as well a long time ago. Some days you may wonder if it was very effective since he ended up working for us. But anyway, so that's obviously I can't say enough, so I'm going to be quiet because I could go on for a while. So
thank you, Bob.
You do want to add something, Bill? I see you.
I just want to say that on January 3rd, I'll have been here 10 years since being in Kim's presence and the job club with Joy. So thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to add real quick. I think if I don't say this enough, Sarah is amazing to work with, just so you all know. At the center, obviously we do things well as it relates to job search, and we've been around doing this for almost 25 years. And I think the job club has been connected with the center for about 23, 24 years. What we are able to do, especially with the help of Sarah, is to create a holistic approach around the job search. So yes, you need to make sure you have your resume together, you know how to network, go through a mock interview, all of those things. But we also need to make sure that we're taking care of our clients as it relates to self-care and mental health and all those other things that come with the job search. Bob mentioned, that people really struggle, and I will just say it's really important. You're going through the stages of grief when you lose a job. So having someone like Sarah that we can rely on and be able to talk to our clients and put on workshops like mindfulness and things around self-care has been, greatly beneficial to our clients. So I just want to make sure that I share that with you all.
Great. So we do have as our action for tonight to approve the agreement with the Career Networking Center that was sent to everybody. This really is focused, it's $20,000 in addition to the $5,000 from last month that we approved. And the scope for the services are really about delivering the virtual career and networking services during the pandemic, transitioning and resuming in-person services when the pandemic protocols allow, and continuing to deliver and improve upon online services that will grow the client base of CNC beyond COVID. So with that, I will ask if there are a motion to approve the agreement with the CNC.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Kim's Career and Networking Center.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the agreement? Hearing none, I'll ask Bob for a roll call vote.
This is item number 11, sorry. Trustee Chapman?
Aye.
Trustee Allen?
Yes.
Trustee Signorella?
Yes.
And Supervisor Mullen?
Yes. So our agreement is approved with Career Networking Center. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you for being here and thank you for everything you do. Really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to your life tonight.
Thank you so much and happy holidays to you all. Thank you.
Kim.
Happy holidays, Kim. Nice to meet you. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. So next up is discussion of and potential action to approve the agreement with the West Suburban Community Pantry related to COVID-19 impacts. So I've been coordinating with Laura Coyle on the needs that they have and what they've been going through. And while we do operate our own food pantry, the West Suburban Community Pantry has a couple of additional services and offerings that they have that access different clients, and we're able to. And the reality is that the further away from the pantry you get, the less people attend our pantry. So we have a lot of walkers, a lot of people who take the bus to us. West Suburban can bring in the southern part of the township more easily in some cases. They also do pop-ups throughout the township, and they've got some partnerships with the schools that they use to again reach more people and reach some families that we don't, as well as a online ordering program that they had tested out for the food bank that they've been working with places like Bridge Communities on. That again is reaching a different group than we can in the township. So our relationship with West Suburban has been a long time now. This is the first specific agreement, and a lot of it has to do with changes that they've made, again, with COVID, and would be reimbursable under the CARES Act. The services that could be delivered are those pop-up and mobile pantries that are within the township, distribution services, including their online ordering program, continual virtual offerings of some of their assistance programs, and then some additional support to food insecure residents during holidays. They've been doing similar holiday programs that we do, but they've changed their format because of COVID, and they've had to do a lot more purchasing than they normally would because they're not doing it through the food bank. So they're changing some of that up right now. They have also worked with us on identifying specific expenses that they can allocate to our agreement, because they are already working with the county and DuPage Township around CARES Act funding. So they are sorting everything out, or have been sorting everything out for the last couple of weeks to ensure that there's no duplication of what's being submitted to each entity related to CARES Act. Just to be really clear that where funding is coming from and where it's going to. So just wanted to put that out there, that they've done a lot of work, because, but you will see ultimately that West Suburban is getting money from multiple sources, but they've been very carefully lining out items for each organization.
Mary Jo,
Yes,
you mentioned Laura Coyle, C-O-Y-L-E.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
she's executive director.
Right. I just wasn't sure on the spelling.
Yep, exactly. So this agreement is for $13,974 for the scope that I mentioned. And I'd like to ask if there's a motion to approve the agreement with West Suburban Community Pantry.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with the West Suburban Community Pantry.
I'll second.
Any questions on the agreement or anything related to this? Okay, hearing none, I will turn it over to Bob again for roll call vote.
Certainly. Trustee Reedy is absent. Trustee Chapman,
Aye.
Trustee Allen,
Yes.
Trustee Signorella,
Yes.
and Supervisor Mullen.
Yes. So our agreement with West Suburban Community Pantry is approved, which brings us to item 13, discussion of and potential action to approve agreement with Youth Outlook related to COVID-19 impacts. So Youth Outlook, the executive director there is Nancy Mullen. I've met her just about 4 years ago now, actually. And for the record, while we share the last name, we are no relation and there is no tie to us.
Glad you said that. I was going to ask.
Yes, just to be very clear. I met Nancy about 4 years ago at a forum, and we just kind of keep running into each other in life. Sorry. Youth Outlook, she is the executive director of Youth Outlook, and Youth Outlook is become one of our partners in the Youth Suicide Prevention Coalition, See Youth. Nancy was actually, I think, our last speaker before we had a pause. She was our last in-person meeting speaker about the work that Youth Outlook does within the township and through the wider suburban area. Youth Outlook is an organization that focuses on kids who need a safe place to go, LGBT youth, and who need to be around others who are LGBT or just have an opportunity to feel safe being themselves. They have drop-in centers throughout the area. We have one in township and one in township, one on the edge of the township that brings in some residents from the township, and one that just before we got locked down was in the process of starting up in Downers Grove. So they hadn't made a lot of progress on that, and we're hoping that we can help them push forward on opening that drop-in center, and we'd have them kind of scattered throughout and adjacent to the township that would really be very accessible to everyone in the township. These drop-in centers they do group activities, group discussion, really provide for an opportunity to have some mental health breaks in their life. And these drop-in centers are very specific to what that community and that area of the community needs. There are some that are focused on transgender youth, some that are open to anyone in the LGBT community, and some that are focused on parents. They had noticed actually that they had parents hanging out in the parking lot of one of the drop-in centers and said, well, why don't you guys come in and just hang out in this room? And a parent group evolved. I've attended, they had a drop-in for community members so they could explain and discuss what they did at the location there's a church on Benton Avenue in Naperville that they operate a drop-in center at. And it's really amazing the work that they do, the leadership that they have. And they operate very much on a shoestring budget. They have a lot of volunteers that support each drop-in center. They had a program person that left, And now the executive director takes on her responsibilities as well as program management. And they have a need for a development manager that has not been filled because they haven't had the funds under COVID. So they lost out on multiple events and planned a deficit budget for next year for the first time since they've existed. That if they dip into all of their reserves, they'll still be at a deficit of about 20,000. If they didn't, it would be a deficit of 80,000 for their budget. So they are at serious risk of shutting down if things don't turn around. They've lost grant opportunities they know are not going to come forward next year because the organizations that offer the grants are terminated the grant programs because of COVID. They just don't have the funds to expend to put them into the grant programs. So this is one that is small, I think you all know my passion around mental health and youth, has a very specific target area around mental health that is very important and really addresses a niche for our youth around mental health and suicide prevention. I could probably talk about them for hours, I'm sorry. The agreement with Youth Outlook is to really continue to allow them to operate virtual drop-in centers, which is one of the ways they pivoted, and continue to do as much in-person work as is feasible during the COVID pandemic, and then fully reestablishing their drop-in centers and parent services once it's feasible. But again, like Kim was talking about, they're going to continue a virtual option because there's some kids who just can't get there and don't have the means of getting themselves to a drop-in center and don't have a family that will take them. So they're going to continue this virtual option into the future as well. And then we want to support the development of their new drop-in center in Downers Grove that will be able to serve kind of a different area of the township as well. So that's the scope of the agreement. And the agreement would be for $60,000. It'll enable them to hire a 10-hour-a-week development manager and reestablish a program manager position that will allow them to push forward on all this new work that they want to do and need to do, but can't really do it currently without the staff. So that's the overview of the agreement. With that, I will ask for a motion to approve the agreement with Youth Outlook.
I'll make the motion to approve this agreement with Youth Outlook. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
second
happy
it.
to make the motion.
Motion by Kathy, second by Tony.
Okay.
Any questions on Youth Outlook or the agreement? Okay, hearing none, I will ask Bob for roll call vote.
Okay. Trustee Chapman,
Aye.
Trustee Allen,
Yes.
Trustee Signorella,
Yes.
and Supervisor Mullen.
Yes. Thank you, guys. The agreement with Youth Outlook is approved. That'll move us into report of elected officials. Ed, you want to go first?
I always go first.
You want to make John go first?
No.
Okay.
You always have the long report, Ed.
Well, this one's going to be short. I don't have much to say. We're prepared for the snow. Hopefully it stays away. We concluded the leaf pickup and went through the entire township 5 separate times. Street sweeper now has been through the township as well, so the roads look pretty good, really. We dodged a COVID case. One of our employees' daughters came down with COVID. And I think she came down, she was tested, I believe, on a Monday or a Sunday. And we had a seminar on a Wednesday where everybody was kind of together, not necessarily socially distanced. And when we found out about the daughter, we were very concerned, but the employee went and got tested. It was interesting because he got 2 tests. He got the saliva test, and then he had the nasal test at the same time. And he got the saliva test back and it was negative, and then the nasal test came back and it was negative as well. So after a certain period of time, he was able to return to it. We dodged a bullet. And his daughter appears to have a very minor case, so we're all blessed in that regard. The other thing I'd like to mention is I received a tax objection going back to 2019. And it angers me because it's, it looks like it was put together by somebody who didn't know anything about the tax objection law or the financial statements. The first objection pertains to the Road and Bridge Fund. There's a section in the annual report when they refer to the Road and Bridge Fund as all of the funds under the road district's control except for the TIF. So they use that number as the fund balance. So it's the entire fund balance on the financial statements. And compare it to the expenses of the Road and Bridge Fund by itself. And therefore they say I have 12 times the average necessary. It's the most ridiculous objection I've ever seen, ever encountered.
Is it
And then
from the usual firm too?
I don't know the firm. I just got this yesterday, and I don't know who the firm is. When it comes to, it just lists the objection. So I don't know who it is. And then the other two, there's two more objections, and that they're saying that my expenditures are over 2 times the fund balance. Or the fund balance is 2 times my expenditures. But I thought the magical number was 2.5. So it's just going to be a waste of time, and I'm going to have to spend money on an attorney, and it just angers me.
Are these large corporations, Ed, and their attorneys?
I have to investigate that too. It doesn't say, it just comes in with the very brief numbers about here's how they calculated it. And they don't tell you who it is. They don't tell you the lawyer's name. They don't tell you anything like that.
Yeah, I think the next iteration of court documents usually has a full
So-
package.
But it's a waste of staff time. It's a waste of attorney money. You know, it's just a complete waste.
But it's usually not residents. It's usually a large corporation who owns commercial property in it.
But usually it's a consortium of, you know, of a lot of
Exactly,
things,
right.
He puts together a consortium, the lawyer puts together a consortium, and they come after you.
Mhm.
I've thought about a lot about this, and I think we should probably try and take some action and say, you know, if a governmental entity taxes too much according to whatever statute is in place, it shouldn't just go to a few. Make them rebate the money on the next levy and give it back to everybody. This is crazy. And besides, it's incompetently prepared. That's all I got.
It especially angers the accountant in you.
Yes.
The auditor, the accountant,
Yeah.
the financial guy.
All right, thanks, Ed. Assessor Trowbridge, what do you have
I
for
have
us?
no report. Thank you.
You were so excited to say that, I could tell. Okay, my report will also be brief. Just want to let you guys know the final senior meal distribution will be next Tuesday, the 15th. We put out calls to everyone who has signed up in the past and asked if they'd like to participate in this one. It's been advertised, it's on Facebook, and we've had some of the other intergovernmental bodies sharing it with us as well. And flip over to, we got the news that our IMRF percentage is going down from 16.01 down to 14.8. So there'll be a cost savings for us next year, as well as our unemployment figure that we pay into is going down from 1.825 down to 0.675. Bill could, and Ed can probably explain a lot more about that, but we will see some savings around around that starting on the January 4th payrolls.
That unemployment rate can't get much lower from an employer's standpoint.
Yeah, it really, and it's a significant change too. The last thing is, I believe it's this Saturday, if I remember correctly, is the Kiwanis distribution for the holidays. Yes, holiday distribution at 1 o'clock. Here at the pantry that Kiwanis organizes with Charlie every year will be happening this Saturday. And that's all I have for now. I will wrap that up then and turn to other business. Is there any other business? Hearing none, we'll move on to the audit. Is there a motion to go to audit?
So moved. I have a motion to present the audit as presented on today, December 9th, 2020.
And I think I see Kathy attempting to second. There you
Second.
go. Okay. I saw you do it and couldn't hear you, but we heard you that time. Okay. Okay, so motion and second to go to audit. Is there any question about going to audit? Okay, then I'll ask Bob to take roll call vote to go to audit.
Trustee Chapman,
Aye.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Signorilla,
Yes.
and supervisor Mullen.
Yes. And I'll ask for a motion to approve the audit.
So moved.
Couldn't hear you again, Kathy.
She's trying to go through.
Second.
There you go. Are there any questions or discussion on the audit, knowing that what we just approved was in the audit already ready to go, pending approval of the agreements? Any questions?
Nope.
Then we will move to Bob again. Okay, we'll move again to Bob for roll call vote on approval of the audit.
Trustee Chapman,
Aye.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Signorilla,
Yes.
and supervisor Mullen.
Yes. So I have no need, unless anyone else does, for executive session tonight, which brings us to, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Anybody? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
And we did find out we have to do a roll call vote on this
To
one.
adjourn, yep.
Okay, hold on. I have to make a new line. And this is trustee Chapman,
Yes.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Signorilla,
Yes.
and supervisor Mullen.
Yes. So 8:32, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Happy holidays to everybody.
Y'all too.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good Christmas.
Happy holidays. Stay
Cheers.
safe.
Yeah.
See you in the new year.